Lakers versus Timberwolves, who's gonna win? Here's another matchup that I am highly looking forward to. But guess what? I'm going against the grain here. I know a ton of people are picking the Lakers. I have Timberwolves in 6. Uh-oh, Laker fans are gonna be mad at me, but let me explain why. The combo of Luka and LeBron we know is off the charts. The talent, the IQ, the passing, we could see the most incredible passes from them to them, like from each other. And Austin Reaves, I've talked about him, and we'll have a little stipulation later in this video as to how I think the Lakers could potentially win this series, but Austin Reaves has been playing out of his mind. But here's why I think the Timberwolves are going to win. One of the reasons is actually due to the Lakers themselves, and that is their defense. Now, they have gone through stretches where they are very, very good defensively, since the Luka trade, but I don't trust them to be locked in defensively for 48 minutes. And I'm not trying to say it disrespectfully. I don't really know how to explain it any better than that. I think they have the capability to be a good defensive team, but I don't see them being an elite defensive team in the playoffs, and that could cost them, especially in a series like this. Because guess what? The team that they are facing are the 6th best defense. The Lakers are 17th overall. And I know that number, again, is a little different just because, post Luka and prior to Luka, it's a whole different story. But generally speaking, the Timberwolves are a better defensive team. And we've seen it. We saw it last year when they were the #1 rated defense. I know the Timberwolves are going to be good defensively for 48 minutes straight. Jaden McDaniels, that man can play defense. But I don't think that alone is going to put the Timberwolves over the edge. I actually think it's going to be partly due to the underdog mentality, Ant-Man, and 2 players on that roster who have something to prove. So let's start with Anthony Edwards. Having Anthony Edwards as an underdog, I didn't look at what this series, rates them, but I'm pretty positive the Lakers are favorite. Listen, there are some players you don't want them to be an underdog because they will come at you. Anthony Edwards is one of them, and he has already had his playoff experience. Like, he's not going to make rookie mistakes. He knows what to do in the playoffs, and he is hungry and motivated. This is a man who I would not want to face in the playoffs, not in the first round, because, again, he has a nice team around him. It's not that it's just Anthony Edwards by himself. He has a bunch of good players on the roster. I think Anthony Edwards is not going to burn out like last year. I think he learned his lesson when he said, I'm taking Kyrie, and then he had to do so many other things, right? I think he learned his lesson, and I think he's going to come at the Lakers. And again, I don't think there's anybody who could stop Anthony Edwards. And if the Minnesota Timberwolves are smart, and as talented as Luka is, we know he is not a defender. So what should they do, and what do I think they might do? Just put Luka in every defensive play, and you're probably going to get results. Luka is so good offensively, you're never going to play him off the floor, right? Like, that's not going to happen unless he gets in foul trouble, which is something else that could happen, but you're never going to play him off the floor. But if you're essentially trading baskets from Luka's, whoever he's guarding, that kind of neutralizes what Luka does. Because even if Luka is scoring on the other end, if he's giving up a basket on the other end, it's a wash. Now, the 2 players who I think who are going to show up big in the playoffs, at least in my mind, who have something to prove, are Julius Randle and Donte DiVincenzo. More so Julius Randle in terms of something to prove. Donte DiVincenzo is just someone who is clutch, and we saw what he did last playoffs. Like, when I say he has something to prove, I mean more so like he's just hungry and motivated, and I know that he will show up when he needs to. Julius Randle, I know there's a lot of, talk around him about how he's performed in the playoffs in the past. He kind of has that James Harden reputation, not as much because James Harden has done it more, but Julius Randle is starting to get that reputation. And Julius Randle, if you have not been watching, he has been balling lately. And the thing is about Julius Randle, I think he's actually going to have an incredible series. I think Julius Randle is clearly an X factor because if he plays super well, it makes it 10 times easier for them to win. And I have a feeling he's going to play super well because I think he's motivated from being traded from the Knicks and all the talk around him about not basically being what they need to win. I also think an advantage that no one's really talking about is the fact that Julius Randle was a Laker. You may be like, well, how's that an advantage? When you had played in a building, especially being on that roster in that uniform, like, it's different. Maybe that doesn't apply to everybody, but I feel like someone of Julius Randle's caliber and the fact that he would be so comfortable in that building, I feel like gives him an advantage. When I say advantage, I mean a comfortability standpoint. So like if he's in another building, he may be a bit more nervous, which could throw off his shot, but I feel like he's very comfortable in that building despite the playoff pressure, that it will actually make it easier for him to go off. And again, Luka and LeBron, it's hard to bet against them, especially LeBron. Like, it's hard to ever say LeBron's going to lose in the first round. I think people are so focused on the talent, and rightfully so, but they're dismissing the Timberwolves way too much. Like, this Timberwolves team is well-rounded. And here's one key thing that I also don't know if people are talking about, is the Rudy Gobert factor. In many series in the past, we have talked about how Rudy Gobert gets taken off the floor because he's, not able to guard on the perimeter and he's not having enough of an impact, offensively, and basically teams will play small to play him off the floor. So the advantage that you get by having him on the floor isn't outweighing the disadvantages due to some of these matchups that he's had. But in this series, I actually think Rudy Gobert is going to be effective and he's not going to be played off the floor. Unlike series in the past, the Lakers don't have a big. They were trying to trade for one at the deadline and they didn't get one. And Jackson Hayes played very well post-deadline, so we definitely have to give him credit, but he's not going to be able to guard Rudy Gobert. I don't think the Lakers, and it's crazy to say because again, Rudy Gobert has gotten played off the floor in past series, I don't think the Lakers have anybody to guard him. I think his impact, grabbing rebounds, protecting the paint, and getting, lobs to the rim are going to outweigh any kind of disadvantages that you have with him on the floor, making it a lot harder to beat the Timberwolves. If the Lakers, obviously Anthony Davis can't still be on the team, but if the Lakers had someone like Anthony Davis, something like that, I would probably pick the Lakers to win then because, in addition to whatever they have on the roster, because then I would feel like one of the advantages of Rudy Gobert would not be able to be had. But I think all they need Rudy Gobert to do is just get 10 rebounds, 10 points, and stay in front of somebody on the perimeter if he gets switched. That is all they need him to do. And as long as he can do that and not get played off the floor, the Timberwolves win in my opinion, because I expect everybody else to do their thing. So I have Timberwolves in 6. Now I did say there's one stipulation. If Austin Reeves is averaging 28 per game, the way he basically was for 3 weeks, then I might lean Lakers because I talked about this once before. If you're getting 30 from LeBron, 30 from Luka, and 30 from Austin Reeves, even with the defensive woes, that's really hard to beat because you basically have 100 points from 3 players. So now you have 12 other players on the roster. I know they're not all going to get minutes, but you have 12 other players on the roster that you only need to contribute 30 points amongst all of them, just assuming 120 is the score. Then I would trust the team to get the defensive stops and to only have to score 30 amongst, a multitude of players. That makes sense to me. But I am going to assume, no disrespect to Austin Reeves, incredible season. He's being, ascending all the time, but I'm going to assume Austin Reeves is not going to do that because they are going to put probably Anthony Edwards on him, I think. And we know Anthony Edwards is going to go at you on defense, and I think it's going to affect Austin Reeves. I don't think he's going to be scoring 25 per game. They're going to try to feed him and make sure that he is scoring because LeBron knows when Austin Reeves gets going, it's hard to beat them. But I think Anthony Edwards is going to stop that, and that is essentially the reasons why I think the Timberwolves will win in 6.